welcome to Flipping the Pages. This is our second episode, and my name is Joselyn Tavares, and I'm the director of the Swansea Free Public Library. I'm thrilled today to introduce to you another local author, Glenn Lowney.
Thank you.
Tell me about yourself, Glenn.
I went to school, local schools, and I wound up on the West Coast, San Diego State University. And after that, I worked in the film industry. Didn't really like the film industry. And when my mom passed away in 2006, I moved back to Swansea.
Oh, very good. Very good. What made you become an author? What inspired you to write your book?
Basically boredom.
Boredom.
Because this is during the corona, and what happened was everybody was on the computer, and I had I would say a history of being indoors because my brother, whom I live with, suffered a stroke in 2016, and I was his caregiver during that. And I was basically stuck in the house.
Yeah, during COVID, for sure.
During COVID and during like 6 months, from late 2016 to early 17. And that prepared me for COVID.
Yeah. So tell me about your book.
My book is picture puzzles, similar to the ones on the old game show Concentration. And it has a Massachusetts theme. What I did was I employed crossword puzzle type theme. Let's say a crossword puzzle has a theme of Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That theme of Massachusetts has been transferred into that book.
Okay.
So all these picture puzzles in Isle of Massachusetts have a Massachusetts theme.
All right. What gave you the idea to take the theme of Massachusetts and put it in puzzle form?
Basically, I lived here all my life, except for the 11 years I lived on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So I have a history being in Massachusetts.
And what's your history with puzzles?
Puzzles, I've always liked puzzles. I've always liked game shows.
Yeah.
And, they're fun and engaging.
Okay. Do you, what was your process in creating the book in puzzle form? How did you approach the puzzles and putting it together?
Well, I went on eBay and bought a few concentration games just for the puzzle aspect. They come in a roll. The puzzles in the game come in a roll. And I was flipping through them for the artwork. And with the artwork, I had a tracing table, portable tracing table, and I would trace the artwork on a grid that I had made. And basically besides that, I subscribed to Shutterstock.
Okay.
For more artwork.
Yeah.
And the Shutterstock was a good tool.
How did you use Shutterstock in your development?
Well, I had the grid. I put it into a program that I bought online called Pixelmator.
Mm-hmm.
And I just tweaked the illustrations from the Shutterstock onto the grid that I made, Pixelmator.
Okay. What Was the grid like a standard grid of just squares, or did it have the
Well,
pieces? Like, how do you get those puzzle pieces
well,
onto?
oh, the puzzle pieces? I did an overlay. That was a Shutterstock, an overlay.
Yeah.
But the grid that I used, that I found online in Google Images, and it was an engineering student's thesis.
Oh.
And it had a bunch of symbols on it, clocks, peanuts, arrows, and when I imported it to Pixelmator, and I erased all the symbols.
Okay. So you kind of came up with this
Yeah,
on your own.
yeah, I did. And
I'd like to know how that. I'd like to know more about how you came up with that and how you thought to do that.
Well, I was always a fan of game shows, so I put a game show into a book.
Okay. Tell us about your game shows.
Well, I used to watch Concentration a lot because I was on, when I was sick from school, I used to watch all the game shows. Concentration, Jeopardy,
Yeah.
when they had $10 questions. That was back in the 60s, and I'm showing my age, but I watch Hollywood Squares and, all the old staple game shows, The Pyramid, all the old staple game shows that are on in new forms. Jeopardy has been on, let's say, since the mid 80s, and it's still going strong.
No, it definitely is.
Yeah. In fact, the two biggest shows in the history of syndicated television are game shows. Number one, Wheel of Fortune. Number two, Jeopardy. And that's how popular game shows are.
What's the appeal of game shows to you, in your
To me?
opinion? Yeah.
They're fun and engaging. I like to play along with the contestants. I think most people love to watch themselves try to beat the contestants at the game.
Okay. All right. So, is there, if someone picks up your book
Yes.
to look at the puzzles you created, should they be taking a certain strategy in mind? Is there,
Yes.
without giving away the answers?
I don't want spoiler alerts.
No.
I think the strategy is open up the book and try to figure out the puzzles. Just like that. You don't need to know the entire phrase. All you needed to know are a couple of symbols,
Okay.
and if they fit a phrase, there's your answer.
So on top of the grid in Pixelator, did you come at the puzzles you created with a certain strategy to create them?
Yes and no. I try to give the reader a fair representation of the symbols and a fair representation of the state. I have some puzzles concerning Western Massachusetts,
Okay.
Eastern Massachusetts, Cape Cod.
Are they more geographical in nature, or are they?
Some geographical, some names,
Okay.
historic names, pop culture names, musicians, movie actors,
Okay.
and a lot of memorabilia.
All right.
Because I have one puzzle in this book that is a present entity that makes money.
Oh.
I just wanted to make these puzzles to be past reference and not give publicity to anything.
Okay.
You know.
All right.
So you've got a lot of past restaurants, past department stores,
All right.
now defunct, entities.
That makes sense.
So,
So in creating the Massachusetts reference,
yes.
you look to the past, it sounds like.
Yes.
And are there any, do you have any, all I can think about when we talk about Massachusetts in this context is like the Dunkin' commercials where celebrities come in and make jokes of like the pop culture of Massachusetts and like I'm thinking specifically of the Tom Brady and Matt Damon and Ben Affleck commercials that they showed for the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Do you have similar inspiration in the book about like those kind of wink wink nod nod, I can't wink, wink wink nod nods to Massachusetts and the people who live here? Or
Yes and no. You just mentioned two people
oh no.
who were in the book.
Sorry.
But we won't
Not
tell
I won't
you
tell you the two.
the two.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's
Glenn.
okay. That's okay.
All right.
But it has. I'll give you a spoiler alert. Okay. Swansea is one of the puzzles in the book.
Oh, that sounds fair.
It's
Seeing
fair
how we're here.
Because I've been resident of Swansea all my life.
All right. How would the crossword puzzle strategy differ from the pictorial kind of puzzle?
Pictorial, it's words. You first find, okay, you have a 15 by 15 grid. You throw down 3 words that fit a category. And you throw down, populate the board with black squares, which are called blocks in the parlance of crossword puzzles. And then you press the quick fill button and it fills up
Really?
it fills up the grid. Now you're playing Jeopardy because you have the answers in the grid. You have to come up with
With
the
the
clues.
question, yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically playing Jeopardy.
Well, that's a good way to look at it.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. And how many puzzles have you created the crossword? Are you like
I'm
you're
beginning.
just playing?
I'm just beginning. I've created a couple, and hopefully, I'll create more.
Yeah, that sounds great. When you do a puzzle, do you have a strategy? Now that you've created some puzzles, does that change your approach to doing them as an active participant and solving it?
Basically, what I do is I look at the puzzle, and if I don't like a word that I see, I'll erase the entire and work back from scratch. And that's a strategy I have. And then another strategy I have is I like to populate the board, the crossword board, with every letter in the alphabet.
Oh.
So I take the strategy of the least frequent, the highest point value words in Scrabble, I mean the letters in Scrabble, the J, K, Q, X, and Z's, I'll just populate, 1 and 1, 1, and if it fills. It fills. And if it doesn't, I'll just move the letters around.
Oh, I would never have thought of that.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite puzzle?
In this book?
Or, well, yeah, we can do both in this book. Do you have a favorite?
No.
No?
No. They're all my favorites.
They're all your favorites. Okay.
Yeah.
What about as a puzzle doer? I don't know the right word for
A
that.
puzzle solver.
Thank you.
A puzzle solver.
What's your favorite?
No. When I was at San Diego State, I worked the front desk at my dorm. And the rule was I worked Friday nights, Saturday nights, midnight to 8.
Ooh.
Okay. I slept during the day. And the rule was at midnight, if a student had a subscription to a newspaper, the LA Times or the San Diego Union Tribune or whatever, that student that didn't pick up the paper, it was up for grabs.
Oh, okay.
And I would take the Los Angeles Times and the San Diego Union Tribune, do the crossword puzzle. And I figured that most of the crossword clues were trivia and had to put, in fact, this is, I have to laugh because I went to San Diego State, and San Diego State's mascot, Aztec, is frequently used in crosswords.
Oh, wow. So you're kind of connected from all,
Yes.
between your
Yes.
enjoyment of game shows and
Yeah.
puzzles and your mascot.
And my mascot, yes, go
Yeah.
Aztecs. And okay, I got so good at solving these crosswords. I used to do them at pen,
Oh, yeah.
not pencil. And I would say within 15 minutes I solved the puzzle,
Wow.
entire puzzle.
That's a little bit showing off, Glenn.
Yeah, well,
In pen in 15 minutes.
15 minutes pen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it is showing off.
do you have, so you talked about you bought the crossword
Puzzle.
software.
Yeah, the software.
Is that what you're,
Yeah.
you're developing that? Are there
Yeah.
any other types of books that you want to work on?
Maybe a word search,
A word search?
but I haven't found a word search engine or a program that gives an answer key. They're all for educational. And
Yeah.
plus, they're all for educational, and they're not for, the ones I've discovered are not for commercial use.
Okay.
They're all for educational, just
That,
throw in the classroom.
yeah, that kind of makes sense to me. Are there any questions in when you're out promoting your book? Are there questions you wish people asked you that you haven't been asked? Is there something we didn't talk about that you want people to know about your book?
No, just as fun. And it doesn't require much reading, only the reading that it requires, the answers. And that's it.
Okay.
It's a fun book. There's too much negativity
Uh-huh.
in the world, and I just want something positive.
Yeah. How long did it take you to put
I
it
would-
together?
I would say about a year. I went to the Situate, Rhode Island Art Festival, and I met with my publisher, and I didn't know. And I had bought his wife's word search puzzle book a few years earlier, and completed it and enjoyed it, and basically copied Dawn's idea because her word search puzzle was on Rhode Island.
Okay. So that was one of your inspirations as well.
Yeah.
What is the editing process like for a book of this sort? What kind of test did you have to test it with people or
No.
no?
No. I figured out that it was pretty simple enough.
Okay. All right. And it took about a year. What was the publishing process like? Can you talk about how that was for you?
The publishing process was, I signed the contract, and Steve Porter, who runs Stillwater Books in Warwick, Rhode Island, walked me through the process. And I contracted a local artist,
Yeah.
Goose.
Goose works at the library with us.
Goose is a great friend, and Goose made good artwork.
Yeah.
And I had a difficult time putting Massachusetts in 3 symbols.
Yeah.
And I knew that one of the symbols had to take up 2 syllables. And I tooled around with the spelling of the words of Massachusetts, and one night I just said, let's try message. And I typed in message in Shutterstock, and it comes out message in a bottle. I hit return, and I got this one, message in a bottle. So I'm left-handed. I love message, the messages
Okay, yep.
outline in the bottle, juice, it's. I wanted to put a juice in a box because, Capri Suns were pretty popular.
Yeah.
So, when I explain the book without, the front cover without showing the book, I always say a message in a bottle plus a box of juice like a Capri Sun, and people will relate to that.
Very good. Did Goose work alongside of you throughout that whole year, or is that a separate process after you created the...
It was a separate process.
So tell us how that worked.
I just handed Goose my sketches, and Goose went to town.
Gotcha. What part, were there any challenges or frustrations in creating the book?
No, just that Massachusetts.
Just that was the worst?
That was the worst. That boggled my mind for, I would say about 3 or 4 days.
That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Did you come up with the color scheme of the book? Or was that something Goose did as well? Or
the color scheme, the green?
Yeah.
Steve Porter gave me a bunch of choices, and I decided green.
It looks good. It pops.
Yes. It pops up.
Yeah, it does. Were there, after you signed the contract with Steve, did he give you a deadline that you had to have everything in? How did that process work?
The process worked Yes and no. I wanted to get the book before Christmas, and it takes, I was between 6 and 8 weeks to publish the book.
Okay.
So I want to get late September, early October at the latest, so it would be available for the holidays.
Okay. Did Steve and his wife give you any advice for that drew you, that you were able to use to work on your book? I should say it like that.
No.
They just
they
let
let
you
me
go?
have carte blanche.
And for some people, that can be very intimidating, but it didn't seem to be for you.
No.
No, you just ran with it.
I just ran with it.
Very good. Do you have advice for anyone who wants to publish their own book?
Yes, go to a reputable publisher, because I knew a lot of authors who are first-time authors who have paid exorbitant amounts of money for publishing.
Okay.
And I've recommended Steve to them.
Great.
And because Steve is pretty honest, and he has a background in books. He was a marketer for Laureates, and Laureates was a big chain in around on the Northeast, and he went on his own, and he sells new and used books, and does publishing.
Sounds great. If someone wanted to pick up your book, how would they go about getting it? How would they buy it?
Through Amazon, through, let's see, I was online last night, through BookSoup. And BookSoup is a bookstore in Los Angeles, in Hollywood on Sunset. And so it's very influential. And Barnes & Noble.
Oh, great.
And this is funny. It's online in Korea.
Oh, wow. That must have been a surprise.
Yes.
So we can try to find it in Korea.
Find it in Korea where nobody speaks English. See, this is an English book. And basically, it's an American book. It's for Americans. It's for adults, because kids won't know
some of the
references. Yeah.
Oh.
I had a friend, let's say, a couple of months ago, wanted to buy the book for her 11-year-old granddaughter, and I told her not to, because the kid won't understand.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you joining me today to talk about your book and your process and inspiration. And again, you can find this book probably the most easily on Amazon.
Yeah.
And thank you, and we hope you'll join us again for another episode of Flipping the Pages. Thank you.